All right, everybody. Guess who? It's your Uncle Ed again. You know I'm always bringing it. Happy 2026. If you haven't heard it from me already at least three times, I'm excited about this year. Are you excited about this year? You know what? You should be, because I think this is the year. In the last 6 to 7 years, this is the year that's going to stand out in your life. So let's just launch right away. Let's get some skills going. For those of you who are business owners or aspiring business owners, you're in for a treat today. Today, I have the great Josh Broward of Wisdom Partners. This guy is a leadership coach. He's been doing it for many, many years. And you know what? We're just going to have a conversation here to talk about what's it going to take in 2026 to make that year. Because, things just don't happen. This is not an osmosis kind of thing. This is a get it done, show up to the gym. If you say you want to be in shape, if you say you want to feel good, you know what? Watch what you put in your mouth, and motion is lotion. You got to get to the gym, just like Uncle Ed. Look, if I can do it, I know you can do it. So, Josh, thank you so much, man, for showing up. I really appreciate it because I know, man, looking at your background, whoo, we got some things to talk about, my friend.
All right. Yeah. Thanks for having me, Ed. I appreciate it. And
So tell me the nexus of you getting even into this, because teaching leadership is a huge skill. I don't see a ton of it out there.
mm,
And I know at 7 years old, you didn't say, hey, you know what? I'm going to found Wisdom Partners and I'm going to become a leadership coach. These aren't things that are really part of our consciousness, especially as young children. So tell me how this all happened.
well, there's the near past, and then there's the you made me think long term past. So I'll go way back with you.
All right.
When I was in college, I did a summer volunteer project, kind of like Peace Corps, but through my church. So when we came back, somebody was kind of helping debrief everybody. And he's when he was talking to me, I don't know exactly what he saw in me. I
Hmm.
don't remember anything else in the conversation, but he said, "Oh, for someone like you, we wouldn't have you on the front lines doing the work. We would have you train the leaders." And it was like, those shows where they have the big gong and some like
I thought you were going to say the lightning bolt went bam.
but it like vibrates. It
Right.
was as if somebody hit like a gong in my heart, and it was like,
Wow.
oh, I that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to train leaders.
So that was the inflection moment. It was just like boom.
From then on, it was like, okay, like I have to go. Like I was a junior in college, and so I didn't know, but it was like I have to learn what I need to learn to do my job, but the point is so that I can train leaders.
Wow. You are a blessed man because I didn't have that gong that age at all. It took me a long time to even come out of my own shell. Number one, oh, here's Uncle Ed being transparent, right? And number two, it took a long time to kind of fill my own shoes. Like, for example, I love to speak in public, man, but I couldn't get myself to do it, Josh. It
Yeah.
was so hard because I didn't have that gong moment. If somebody said to me, hey, you know what? You're a great speaker. Yeah, in front of the mirror, maybe, right? Or in the bathroom, right? Singing. But that was it. So, okay. So then you decide, do you go into corporate America to do leadership and then start your own company? Tell us that whole
Man,
transition so that we can inspire some people.
well, that's more than one transition. So I actually felt called to be a missionary.
Wow.
And so that was the context of that conversation was to train leaders
Mm,
in other countries. That's a whole other story of how I felt called to missions.
okay.
Um, so the first time I was pastor of a church where I was the senior pastor, it was of an English speaking church in South Korea on the campus of a university. So there was sort of uh, a nexus or a center of gravity of English speakers there at the university. Some of them there to teach English, some of them who had just studied abroad, and we had people from all over the world in our church. It was a lot of fun. Um, I felt I needed to go back to the US, in part so that I could do a PhD program. Uh, I specifically wanted to study leadership because of that gong moment, which still rang true 15 years later. And so we moved to the Chicago suburbs, and I knew I didn't want to be a senior pastor and get into a PhD program. So I intentionally took an assistant pastor role.
Mhm.
So there would be a little less emotional cognitive burden on me. Um, did that for several years, then took a job out here in the Bay Area working for a regional nonprofit doing some training and strategy development for their local leaders. Uh, Way too long of a story, but things went sideways there. It kind of blew up. It was messy.
Mm.
It was the most painful experience of my life. And I transitioned from there to Kaiser Permanente. So, luckily, providentially, uh, I was blessed to have already done some consulting and already been, I was, halfway through a PhD program in organizational leadership. So I had some visibly transferable skills. Uh, so I worked as a strategy consultant in Kaiser, part of the time in their HR department, part of their time in their IT department. But mostly I was helping different parts of the organization work together better and find things that they were overlooking that would enable a better synergy. Because Kaiser's so big,
It's
it's
huge.
easy to uh, two people are working on the same thing and they don't know it.
Mhm.
Um, so then, post COVID, there was uh, Kaiser was not unlike the other Bay Area companies and did a massive layoff, especially in the IT department. Um, and 30% of my department got cut, more than 100 people. And I, the short, honest story is any job I wanted, I couldn't get an interview for, and any job I could get an interview for, I didn't want. Uh,
Right.
I was, I'd go into the interview, or after the interview, I'd start praying, God, please don't let them give me this job. Please don't let them give me this job, because I'll have to take it. Like I can't be unemployed, but I sure don't want this job. Uh, and eventually, I was just like, why don't I just do my own thing? And I called up, I had been in conversation with one of my oldest friends. He was in my wedding 25 years ago, and he's a serial entrepreneur turned investor and coach. And we'd been talking about how we develop very similar philosophies of leadership through very different pathways. And the long story short is we decided to start Wisdom Partners together,
Mhm.
especially so that we can help leaders create the kind of organizations that empower people to own their work and do their best work. That's better for the leader, it's better for the people, and therefore better for society. And we narrowed in on, uh, you might call them late, early stage startups. So, right at the transition from early stage to growth stage.
Mm.
If you don't know what you're doing yet, you're too early for us. Like ideation and trying to create a product, MVP, that's too early for us. But if you know what you're doing and it's starting to work, that's when you need
Mm.
us, because
Okay.
at that point your job is about to change really fast. You change from being focused on the product and the customer to being focused on the team and the systems.
Yeah, and scaling in the business. Well, it
Yeah,
sounds like you've had a few ashes to beauty kind of events here.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's so fortuitous to see now where you're at. I mean, look, I don't believe in coincidences. By the way, full disclosure, I am a Christian myself. So when you start to use, certain terms, I totally get what you're saying. and I appreciate it. So the Korean thing makes a lot of sense too. Isn't the biggest Christian church in the world in Korea? I believe,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is there. So that makes a lot of sense. So tell me now. So I am a let's say I'm a business owner who's already past the product stage, already did my proof of concept, already ready to go, and I have that inflection point of now going into growth mode. Tell me what are you seeing out there are some of the biggest obstacles for these types of businesses and these kind of business founders and owners and CEOs?
I, I think for the most part, the biggest problems are around, I mean, they're people problems. So it's hiring the right people, helping them align and stay aligned on not just the vision, but like today's steps that get us to tomorrow's vision. And then balancing accountability and autonomy. Most people go too far in one direction.
Mm,
They either are try to maintain too much accountability and then it's micromanaging and you're just giving people tasks, you're not giving them ownership. And by
mm.
ownership, I mean like they feel a sense of agency and control over their own work, and they feel like what they do really matters. Um,
Delegation without empowerment.
that is the most common approach. On the other side, and sometimes even successful executives cl teach this or claim to teach this. They'll say, hire great people and then turn them loose. Well, that's a good idea, except you can have a lot of racehorses running in different directions, and that's not the best way to get your team to get the most progress for your team. It's much better to hire great people, get them all going in the same direction, and have a rhythm of meetings and accountability that keeps them moving in the right direction. And by accountability, I don't mean like
Punishment.
punishment. It's more of like, okay, this is the area that I'm responsible for. This is what success looks like. This is how and when success will be measured. Great. Now I can go do the everything I can to hit that mark. And I'll report back into you on the cadence we agree. I'll ask you questions, but everything is about me hitting that success mark. And that changes the game.
It does change the game. And like you mentioned before when we talked, you mentioned that, just because you're good at, for example, innovating and creating product doesn't make you a great leader. I mean, those are completely separate and totally different skill sets. What are some of the things for those who are watching here who are at that stage? What are some of the recommendations you give to business owners besides, of course, hiring you and hiring a coach, right? I mean, that's obvious. But what are other things that you want them to focus on to start, or at least start thinking even before they hire you?
Um, so one thing that I'll tell you one thing I'm trying to get better at. If I do it twice or say it twice, write it down.
Mm,
Uh, so some people call it documenting your process. Um, for for example, we're building a new outreach campaign on Dripify. Uh, it's new, so I'm really involved in it. But anytime I find myself responding to someone in the same way, then I write it down so that
mm,
eventually, once I stop adding things to the this is how to answer stuff list, then I'll turn it over to my assistant and he'll do it, but I can have confidence he'll do it pretty well because he's got the list of like, okay, this is what you say if they say they're interested, but they'd like to have an intro call first. This is what you say if they say they're interested, but talk to their assistant to schedule it.
mm.
And you just get all the sort of variations, and eventually you get kind of content density. Uh, So
They turn into FAQs.
yeah, yeah. So I think one thing that's pretty standard across industries is just pay attention, try to patternize your business, patternize your work so
Yeah,
that
make it
you're
systematic.
not, yeah, so you're not constantly inventing new every day. Um, Another thing,
Great advice.
I would say one of the biggest mistakes business owners make is overworking.
Tell me more
Because
about that. Because
yeah,
we're a society that wears overworking as a badge of honor.
because we're our own bosses and we feel usually if we own a business, it's because we feel passionate about that business. We feel passionate about the work. Even I before I've heard you say you love helping people buy houses. It's there's a missional calling element to it for you because you're
100%.
this is how you serve people. Uh, it's really easy to uh, basically to put their needs before yours for too long. And then what ends up happening is you kind of hollow yourself out.
Mm.
And uh, okay, so we've been talking about the Bible, so I'll say, or I mean, about Christianity. So I'll say a Bible verse and how this
Sure.
plays in. Yeah, Jesus said the second commandment is love your neighbor as yourself. The unspoken or the untalked about part of that is you have to love yourself if you're going to love your neighbor. Uh, if you don't show love to yourself, you end up with nothing left of yourself to give to your neighbor.
Mm.
So that's totally true in business. Like you have to put on your own oxygen mask first.
I was just about to say that, but excellent.
So, take a day
Yes.
off, have a deadline when you stop working for the day. In my worst times, 'cause I'm a workaholic. Like I'm a recovering workaholic. I had to count my hours because like I would put in 70 hours and not realize it. And
Mm.
for me, a balanced work week is 50-ish. So, more than your 40, but for me, that feels good. Um, but I have to pay attention to it because if I overwork, like I'll spin into a form of depression,
Mm.
which for me is basically irritability and loss of joy. I don't get like blue or like some of the sad face kind of things. It's just life isn't fun and I get mad at people.
I love how honest you are because these are the nuggets. This is the reason why I like doing these interviews, is because I want authenticity. I want people to really watch this and pull something out and relate. Because here's the truth. And this is so funny you're bringing this up, Josh, because I said to myself, 2026 is the year that I kill that badge of honor of being a workaholic.
Mhm.
Because me too, I'm the same way, right? I used to think that hustle was the only path to success, Josh.
Yeah.
And then I realized this whole thing called wait a second, working smarter, not harder, but working also with like minded people, because together we move mountains, together we're better.
Mhm.
Psalm 133 says it, right? Also, Hebrews, what is it? 25:10 and no, 25:10. Yep. No, it's Hebrews 10:25 and 24 says that we are to be of support, right, to one another. And that is what I'm having my moments for 2026 is I'm looking for more Joshes to collaborate with, and because together we can serve more people and create more momentum without the insane 80 hours. See, now I look at it as going, wow, I was so inefficient. If
Yeah.
it takes that many hours, right, then I'm not doing this correctly, right?
Yeah.
Especially once you've been doing what you've been doing for a long time, you need to have that accelerated momentum of being able to do the same task in way less time.
And, yes. And if you're if you're always if you're always grinding, you lose the ability to be innovative and see the big picture
Hmm.
because you're like noses to the problem. We have to have there's a my favorite leadership theory is adaptive leadership. It's by a guy named Ron Heifetz out of Harvard, and he says we have to alternate between the balcony and the dance floor. On the dance
Oh,
floor, that's where the action is. You turn to your
yeah.
partner and you can see a little bit of space and you're like, okay, we're gonna spin here, we're gonna do this, and but you can't see very much, especially if it's a full dance floor. So you also need to spend some time up on the balcony so you can see the patterns. How does it flow? What happens when this happens? And so in business or in life, in any leadership context, we have to alternate between that balcony view and that dance floor time. And most of us will spend most of the time on the dance floor. That's appropriate. But if we don't get time on the balcony, then we're probably missing the bigger patterns and we might be
Yeah.
grinding away at the wrong problem, or
Ooh.
at least not the most important problem.
Okay, guys, I'm going to stop right here because otherwise we're going to go for hours. If you please rewatch, if you rewatch anything this last minute or two, you need to rewatch because these are absolutely priceless nuggets of wisdom. Thank you so much, Josh, for being so honest and so raw, because I think that this is where this interview really becomes a gigantic blessing to many. We're going to have more of these for sure. And by the way, guys, we're going to also do a podcast with Josh. Be on the lookout for the next upcoming videos with him because obviously he has a lot more to share than that. But be blessed. Thank you, Josh. Blessings to you as well. And thank you, everybody. Till next video from Uncle Ed. Be on the lookout because I'm still coming. Have a good one.
Yes.
Thank you so much.